And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, this was just how he worked. He tended
Welcome to the Beginner's Guide. To what, I wonder?
I don't know.
Oh, wait. Just listen to the wind and the trees and the sea. What do you hear? I hear fire. I hear wind. I hear seagulls.
Yep.
Grass.
Birds.
And waves. That's great. Sorry. It's totally off
light.
topic. Yeah, it's a lampstand. I'll give a little preface to this by saying that this is one of my favorite games of all time. I haven't actually played it myself, but I've watched playthroughs numerous times. It's something I'll put on when I'm having a bad day or something like that, just because it's familiar and it's comforting and it's interesting. Nigel, however, has not played this game, so he'll be the one driving, because he knows next to nothing about it, but he's intrigued.
I think I've seen 10 minutes of this game played because Emily showed me a little bit, and I said, I definitely want to play this, so let's not watch anymore.
I needed to get you hooked, man.
Yeah, of course, and that's the thing, right? It's so hard to start new things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, actually.
Do you want to grab your phone and just start a timer?
Sure.
So that we don't make the episodes insane. I'm tempted to kind of do this in like a big hour and a half long thing. I know it's an hour and a half because I check every game before I play it on how long it takes. It's
just in case,
It's one thing when I'm looking for games for this channel. I want to have games that are short enough or long enough or whatever, depending on what I think my needs are.
I also know where like the natural breaks in this are, so
that can be really helpful too, because that's actually more important to me.
Yeah, you got to get the flow in, man.
Good to go?
I'm good. If you're good.
Begin.
This is kind of like a dream come true for me. Just saying.
The audio is on. My screen is dirty. Wazda.
Click.
Hi there.
Hi.
Thank you very much for playing The Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Reedon. I wrote The Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. So what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games.
The heck?
Awesome.
I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is.
I'm just going to really quickly turn down my mouse sensitivity because it's way too high for me.
Okay.
And that's exactly what we're going to do here. It's 2008.
I'm dead!
Coda starts
Do you want to
making
press
these games,
escape?
And he never releases any.
What's up?
Did you want to say something?
Well, as a consummate first-person shooter player, I have my sensitivity down quite a lot all the time. And
Okay. So
my
it's
raw
weird.
mouse input's pretty low too. What was I going to say? Oh, I was going to make a joke. I was going to say, and this is going to be good for Counter-Strike players or anybody who knows about Counter-Strike. We'll call this level Dust Poo. Because there's a really cool level in Counter-Strike called Dust 2, right? So
I don't get it.
and
But okay,
and it's a
that's
desert
funny.
level and it looks like this.
I appreciate that.
It's just
Without knowing that reference, I still appreciate it, I think.
He doesn't put them onto the internet. He just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made.
Whoa.
Until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com.
It's kind of cool, eh?
Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
I think
This is still really early on in his game-making thing.
Yeah.
Witness the whiteness.
Wow.
Whoa! Oh.
Whoa.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games.
E
you'll
is
see
shoot.
from Coda.
Lol.
Which path do you choose, Nigel? Light
I'd probably
or
choose
dark?
this one, honestly.
Okay, spoiler. The other path is blocked. So that's a good choice.
I think I see this red, and I think this could be like fire here. So I don't mess with that.
See, that would be logical. I feel like most people would go, "Oh, light, like that's the right way," because light is such a positive association. But it's kind of a troll. Oh, wait, sorry.
We just fell.
Your sandwich.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine. I didn't need that sandwich.
I made him a sandwich and accidentally knocked it on the ground. So nice of
See, one thing that pulls me a little bit out of my immersion here is there's no possible way he'd have a girl voiceover warding Whisper Machine status active or deactive or whatever it is if this game is in this low level of completion. Because even if you're making a game, voiceover would come last.
Oh, that's interesting. It's something I didn't know.
Like, there is a possibility.
Hostile alien life form inbound.
See, there's a
Get ready.
possibility that
It kind of looks like this game was abandoned mid-development.
I want to hear that
For
thought.
instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that
you'd think that like there's a possibility that he'd have somebody just like female voice it over even before it's done or whatever, which if you're somebody who's not making a game seriously and happens to know a female friend or whatever, then yeah, maybe you do that before you're even done designing the enemies of the game or anything like that. But if you're somebody who's actually developing games and doing things in a methodical pattern, not really, and you'd still do it last.
I think that's a really fair thought, and you should hold on to that till the end, and maybe we'll talk a bit more about that later.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a really good point, and it's something I really honestly never thought about.
He's referred to Coda as a he, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we know he's not a female. So he would have to, if he was making these games, he would have to know
there
a
are
girl,
supposed
and he would
be
have to be
monsters or
at least
enemies
close
somewhere.
enough to
But
ask
then
for like
clearly
that.
there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately, we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized. Begin ship evacuation.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
Speaking of being pulled out of your immersion, that's so cool though.
I know.
It's like, what if you just painted your walls like that?
But you know what I mean by like immersion, right? Like I know that this is a game, right? I'm not.
But your believability
The point
of
of
what
this
he's saying.
game is that it is a game.
Yeah, I understand. It's a game about games.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so meta.
Yeah, it's super meta.
Oh, I love how dirty the glass is. Like when you move,
This
look
is
at
true,
that.
actually.
It's kind of interesting.
And there's like this weird sort of graphical artifact here.
I totally have never noticed that.
I don't know what that is, but like it's a box, right? So
Yeah.
somehow it's covering that here, but not there, and
Weird.
I don't know why. Stuff is weird.
Cool.
But flat earthers, eat your heart out, you know?
Oh my gosh. This is the kind of thing where, like, when you've watched a movie 1,000 times, but you still notice things going in, like, the 1,001st time.
I remember watching Quentin Tarantino
Apparently,
movies with
the
you.
space station has a lab.
And you were finding stuff and thinking about stuff that I had never thought of. And I've watched Pulp Fiction
Oh, yeah.
so many times.
That was
so
interesting. Different people see different things.
Definitely.
Labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
Oh, thanks, bro. I'm going back, though.
Do you really want to do
Really
it?
like to solve the labyrinth, you're welcome to do that.
I've never seen that. That's awesome. There's like dialogue in this game that I've never experienced. Oh my gosh, is it Christmas?
See, on the other hand, I actually super hate puzzles.
Yeah.
And I really regret doing this now.
Oh my gosh.
But, yeah.
We can always restart the chapter if we're hopelessly lost. But apparently, it's okay. I'm just glad I'm not the one playing.
Apparently what?
I was gonna cite that statistic where men tend to be a little bit better at mazes than females.
Oh, is that a thing?
Well, it's mostly because men tend to rely on geometry rather than landmarks, and women tend to rely on memorizing landmarks rather than math. But that's just a trend.
It's an interesting...
It's true for me.
It's an interesting sort of thing. I used to be very landmark based when it came to my navigation.
Okay.
Through city streets and
Yeah.
stuff. But as I've moved to different cities through my life and stuff, I'm actually just going to...
Good idea.
as I've sort of tended towards, like...
Whisper machine active.
Since I've been living in different cities, I've tended towards being more methodical
This game
about
is called Escape from Whisper.
my directions and all that jazz and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's been...
And I've actually grown the other way. So yeah, trends are only trends until they're broken.
Yeah, and so I've had to... is moving back to my hometown here, I've had to try and integrate both my old school of thinking and my new school of thinking into one thing. And it's been very confusing trying to navigate.
One of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
Security call breached. Hostile alien life form inbound.
I'm probably just going to edit this part out unless we say something cool.
Watch
It
out for
kind of
those
looks like this game was abandoned mid-development.
hostile alien life
For
forms.
instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere. But
I am the only hostile alien life form here.
clearly there are no enemies anyway.
I'm uncomfortable
You can't
now.
even reload the gun when you run out of
Oh
bullets.
my gosh.
I don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is.
Weird
And I think
darkness.
that we should talk about these games for what they are,
No
rather than for what they're
parents.
not.
Super rich!
Kind of makes it better.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this.
Oh, is that... I had no idea.
But can the bottom of the universe see you?
Look, when you look into the void looks back.
Asking the real questions.
Apparently, this space station has a labyrinth on it.
I think that's practical. I
Sure,
mean,
I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past.
maybe it was a training ground, Davey. Like, come on, use your
Okay,
imagination.
this is the part that's interesting.
Okay.
The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam.
Do you
It's so much
believe?
to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Do you believe in my body that much? I don't know, man. I've never done that
I
before.
like all the choices here. It's like, you could save us. It's like, well, I can't go
Or
back.
you could sit here for eternity.
Yeah, exactly.
And we all die together.
I know this is a weird thing to harp on in a game like this, but the
Yes.
controls are kind of bad.
Oh.
It's kind of got like that ice skatey sort
This
of
is not a branching
thing.
point, unfortunately.
Oh.
The only option is to step into the
New dialogue.
Ooh, gotta unlock all the dialogue. Get me my achievements, bruh.
Let me
Ow.
pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
Deja vu.
Whoa. Multiple endings confirmed. How did I mess this up? So you go...
Just experience the moment.
Oh.
The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it, like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse.
Yeah, that was pretty intense.
I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
I love that. Was so cool the first time I watched it. It was just like, oh. And this music is just like, the past was behind her.
Yep. In this game, you can only walk backwards.
Oh my gosh.
Good stuff. Can you fall off the world?
There's a hole in the wall. Never done it. Oh my gosh.
Nope, you cannot
Don't
fall off the world.
get lost, okay? The past is behind her. She went in circles.
I'm going to make everybody sick.
Why?
It is my duty.
No.
What the heck?
So it's a short and relatively minimalist
Was that wall there?
experiment
But the future
combining
could not
motion
be
and narrative.
seen.
It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete.
Why does the
Coda's
future
trying to give it a unique
keep
voice
changing?
rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
Which is cool.
I really appreciate that. Where do you go now?
Over here.
Oh, I love this music.
Yeah, the music's really cool.
Yeah, you have to like stop and look. Turn her. When she stops and looks, it becomes clearer.
Hey, that's sweet.
That is really cool. You have to like, yeah. I love that architecture. Oh, look at, wouldn't you love to have that in your home? But if the future is always behind her, how will she find the strength to confront it?
Where's the door?
I love that
What?
you
It's a
have
short
to
little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that.
have to turn around
Which
to
to me
literally
is why
confront
it works,
it.
because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
That's why games are so. I just love games. They marry creativity and practicality in one pod. It's wonderful.
Going. Oh, okay. I'm the kind of gamer who.
You just break everything, like not in a bad way, but like on
Yeah.
purpose. You try to like push the limits of what a game.
It's like, how dare you railroad me?
You just gotta trust him on this one. Okay?
I know.
You are now entering.
I'm not. I'm saying.
Well, if you would enter, you would be entering. Just kidding. It's fine.
Enter? Oh, no, okay.
Oh, you just have to keep walking. Oh.
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting.
All right.
Okay, Davey. We'll trust you. Nonsense and
Oftentimes,
nearly.
Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games.
I've never.
I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Some people are like that, though. Like,
Yeah.
I'm definitely the same way where, like, I'm obsessive while I'm making a song.
I know it's tempting, but there's actually nothing over here. Sorry.
We tried.
Thanks, bro. But once the song is released, like, I listened to it a couple of times just out of obsession and, like, wanting to improve it again. But I just don't listen to any of my other songs anymore, like,
yeah.
ever.
You just kind of move on from there. Everything is. Oh.
That sound is crazy.
The sound is slowing down.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens.
Oh man.
So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
Okay, I bet you don't have to do this. I bet there will be secret dialogue if you don't press enter. Oh, but it's gonna take forever.
I can press enter to. Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah,
Shoot.
but you You can or you cannot, and see if he says anything. It's up to you.
I'll do it.
Okay.
I feel like other people wouldn't, so that's why I'm doing it.
In the meantime, we could just listen to the sound of the wind.
This is like
This is real.
it goes to show the power of sound design, that you can have games as minimal and as unfinished looking as this, but if you have good music choices and good atmospheric sound,
Yeah.
it still can make it haunting and emotionally impactful.
Feels so immersive.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and you're right. It's just like polyhedrons. That's it.
I think if there was more
sound.
dialogue, well, there might be dialogue at the top. Oh,
You don't have to do
this
this.
is like staying till the end of a Marvel movie. No, it's cool. Won't be
Seriously
that long.
though, we did see Black Panther the other night, and there were two cutscenes, special scenes. Sorry,
Two cutscenes.
you know you're too much. You played too many games. The
You know you're too much games when
whole movie's a cutscene. Let's be real.
ba 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 na na ba. Hey, hey, hey.
And I assume that through the
Goodbye.
power of editing, we will, make this better.
Actually, I don't know. I think
Riveting gameplay.
what a thrill. I was super off key.
Hey man,
Can't do it right now.
it's K.
Part of it's because I can't really hear my voice when I have these headphones on, so
What?
I can hear your voice just
Oh.
fine because I have your voice pumping into my ears. But thank you.
I was just, being you in that
What are
moment.
you saying?
Talk louder. Actually, it's speak more loudly.
It's actually pretty funny because I'll put these headphones that I'm wearing, which are closed back, on anybody, including Eli or Emily or Nathan, and they will immediately start talking loudly because they can't hear themselves.
I'm so
but
sorry.
I'm so used to not being able to hear myself anyways because of hearing
You're
problems.
just soundier than us.
Yeah,
I can't believe
I'm
you've
almost
actually
here.
done this. Thank you.
this is great.
Watch there be no secrets.
I thought it would be like,
There's an orange floor. Sorry.
oh, orange floor.
Sorry, go on.
That floor is orange.
Florange.
I thought this was like decreasing on a logarithmic scale, slowly going towards zero.
No.
Thank God
Just
for
a
that.
crawl. We're very pleased.
We're almost
We
there.
made it. Oh,
Imagine making this game and having this in it and forcing yourself to go through this
Oh my gosh.
to get to your stupid game idea
Just
room.
to bug test it and everything.
And speaking, I know it's a game. I know it's the game idea room because this is the last part of stuff that I've seen of this game.
Right.
Everything else
Spoilers.
after this will be fresh.
See, they don't even know what it is yet. It's just
Excuse me?
orange.
Excuse me.
You're almost there, man.
I'm clipping on a wall. Give me a minute here. There we go.
We believe.
Holy.
We
mackerel.
believe in you. I just made that up right now. It's not a real song.
It's a real song if you want it to be a real song.
I don't know if I even want that.
Oh my goodness. This is upsetting.
This is the best thing
Why
I've
does it
ever
like I
seen.
thought it was done at the top of the stairs, but
I
you have to
know,
get
right?
out of the
Maybe
way
we
of the
should
door, I
Just
think.
press enter, maybe. Oh.
There.
Oh, we did it. There's the sound of rain. No wonder this is a comfy room.
Fun fact, I still can only go this speed.
And Davey's supposed
A
to
room
talk.
that's warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games.
Aw, that's so cozy and good.
You are a gate. Press U
Don't
to
do it.
sprint.
Don't do it. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Why?
Coda would often
I thought it
tell
would-
me that he didn't mind if people
It's
thought
okay.
of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he
I
was
did something
actually
bad, I
a
think.
vibrant
Nope.
and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that.
Yeah, I get that, man.
It can be a very slow climb to get there.
I think a lot of people feel that way sometimes. Stand on an X staring at a bear for 3 hours.
I decided to let
Why are
myself
you?
be able to move.
What are you doing?
What?
It's okay. It's fine.
Sorry, did I progress by accident?
No. No, I think he only gives you a few seconds. Ready, set, fish! And immediately the music has changed the entire mood of this game.
Yeah.
Or I mean, this segment. It's a game. Hello, wooden stairs in a concrete environment.
Typical.
How are you? Okay. Typical of what?
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it.
I'm so... Okay.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, what the heck?
That's
I
interesting.
can't get back up.
Nigel knows the solution to the puzzle, fortunately, because we both hate puzzles. Look at the smoke in that room. That's amazing.
I used to make games that were annoying like that one.
You used to make games?
Yeah,
Don't
so
forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon.
Okay, I got you.
I'm
man.
just we're gonna actually cut this episode off because I think we're probably somewhere within the 20-minute mark.
How about we finish this one?
All right,
and then that's a
Gonna
good
see it a
stopping off
lot.
point.
Sure.
So remember the puzzle, guys. It's a puzzle.
Remember the Titans.
It's important. It's interesting. Hello, light.
So that seems to be it, right?
Oh.
You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough.
Simple enough, yeah.
All right, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Oh.
Holy crap.
That's beautiful.
That's cool.
Don't you feel kind of
How
small?
about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player.
Interesting.
So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
I think it's to witness.
To witness?
Mm-hmm.
So just finish
To
this
observe.
one and then we'll cut it off there.
Sure.
You are now exiting.
What did it say before? Entering?
Entering, yeah.
Yeah.
Aha. So this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
Okay.
All right.
March
So
2009.
why don't you hit that escape button?
Sure.
And we'll be back with some more The Beginner's Guide.
For sure. I was gonna say though, when I was in a lot younger and stuff in like sort of a grade school setting and stuff, we had a virtual world, which it was like Second Life, but it was not Second Life. It was some other game. I don't actually remember what the game is called. And I was basically the administrator of the world because I was the only one really interested in doing things like creating infrastructure and enforcing property boundaries and stuff, because it a lot like Minecraft, it's in that, like, you know, how do you enforce, you know, don't build here because this is my land and stuff, and then try and imagine it being quite a lot smaller and there being like 30 kids in like a class being a part of it and stuff.
Wow,
And I just happened to be the most motivated and responsible of the individuals. So I spent a lot of time, administrating it. And yeah, one thing I did create was like, it was called like the Quest of Atlantis. And so one day, a portal appeared in a pond and you could go into the portal, and it had all these obnoxious games that I was able to create in the really primitive engine that was presented to me. So it was things like there was floors, and then each floor piece might teleport you back to the beginning, but a path of floor pieces didn't teleport you back to the beginning.
It was super troll.
Yeah, it was just, but it was what was available to me based on the mechanics of it, because it just didn't have a lot that you could do. Like, you could teleport things, you could change some things into other things, but there just wasn't like a ton that you could do. So, like, for instance, I had a fireball room where, once again, teleporting is like the main mechanic that I could use. So I had a fireball room where fireballs would move back and forth, and if you get hit by a fireball, you'd get teleported back to the start of the
Yeah,
room.
that makes sense.
Right. So, you know, you try and do as much as you can with the fact that your literal mechanics are teleport and movement.
Yeah, it shapes what you have. Davey actually talks a little bit about this later, which I find really cool.
Yeah.
But you essentially your games are shaped by the tools that you have available to you.
And I think that's really true. And I think that's really true in movies too, where I think some of the best movies were created simply because there was no other way to create them than the way that they were.
Right.
Like, great strides in technology had to be made for Star Wars to ever be made. And so Star Wars was made. And so, yeah, I think in some ways the way that we are now, with our lack of limitations, maybe makes it so that we're producing worse art sometimes.
Like, it doesn't force us to be creative.
No.
We're marginally creative, but we're not forced to expand, like push beyond the limits of what's available to us.
Sometimes the box helps, and it's odd, but sometimes it does.
Growth happens when, especially when you're pushed or pressured to, I don't know.
And sometimes when you see the boundary, maybe it's easier to go past it.
To break it? That's interesting.
Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll be back with some more of this Ruddy game. I don't remember what it's called. Beginner's Guide. Thanks for watching again. Bye.
She went in circles.
I'm going to make everybody sick.
Why?
It is my duty.
No.